Alright, so the video begins with a summary of my science teacher interviews. And I looked at 2 elementary teachers, 3 middle school teachers, and 1 middle school science instructional specialist, who is a district level support person for science in 5th through 8th grade. These are all in St. Landry Parish. And the 2 high school science teachers I spoke with are both from Lafayette Parish. Each teacher is identified according to my notes and also in the PowerPoint as having a letter, which is the first letter of their name, along with the grade level they're currently teaching. So in high school, both teachers were from Acadiana High, and one is teaching 10th grade biology with 29 to 30 years of experience. The second high school teacher is also at Acadiana High, teaching grades 10 and 12. Biology 1, Biology 2, and also 12th grade honors. She has 13 years experience. The middle school science teachers I looked at all are from St. Landry Parish. The first teacher I looked at teaches, well actually I'll start with 5th grade. I interviewed one 5th grade science teacher and she teaches math and science. This is just going to be her first year teaching 5th grade, because prior to this she taught 4th grade science. I interviewed a 6th grade science teacher. She's been teaching for 10 years and this will be her second year in 6th grade science. And in middle school, I've interviewed a 7th and 8th grade teacher, and she has 6 years of experience and she's been teaching 7th and 8th grade for quite a while. Notice the difference between the years of experience teaching. 5th grade, this teacher will be her first year in 5th grade science. This one is her second year, going to be her second year in 6th grade. This one has been in 7th and 8th grade science more consistently for the past few years. But compared to my high school science teachers, these teachers have only taught high school and only the grades indicated here for a number of years. So I thought that was interesting. And what's also interesting, and I'll go ahead and look at the elementary teachers, is that the 3rd grade science and social studies teacher, because they, in this school at Leonville Elementary, they teach both science and social studies to their grade level, to every section. She has been teaching mostly the self-contained setting in 1st grade, and then she taught 1st and 2nd grade ELA. This will only be her second year teaching 3rd grade science and social studies. And the 4th grade teacher, she's been teaching for 6 years. And I'd say about half of the years, I believe it's about 3 years, she's been in 4th grade science. So again, we have less experience teaching in those areas, but these teachers are both elementary certified. For example, grades 1 through 8 and grades 1 through 5. And then I also interviewed a science instructional specialist who I consider probably middle school, because she works with teachers in grades 5th through 8th, only in science. Instructional specialists provide support for teachers. And prior to the past 2 years, they work strictly with ELA and math, and only in grades K through 8. But 2 years ago, they did start specializing, and now there's one instructional specialist who works with the science teachers in the middle grades, and that's another teacher I did interview. The instructional specialists, they do conduct observations of science lessons, but they do not evaluate science instruction. As I said, their primary role is support for teachers, and they also provide assistance to administrators. All right, so again, I looked at Lafayette Parish with the 2 high school teachers that I interviewed, and St. Landry Parish with the elementary and middle school teachers. The teachers that I conducted interviews with were referred to by either the principal, the assistant principal, or by another teacher. And that's how I was able to obtain the information. In fact, it's the only 2 teachers that I received their names from by peers were the elementary school teachers. The other school teachers were referred to by administrators or principals. And I think that does speak to their reputation as a science teacher. And it did show through in their interviews with the quality of the responses they gave. So for the nature of science, what is science? They said it's the way things work. They all agreed that it's a field of study that applies laws of science and our understanding of the world. And they referred to it as a collection of knowledge. As far as the characteristics of science, I did get a few different answers. In the elementary grades, the fourth grade teacher said that it's exploration, experimenting, research, and she said they kind of all tie into everything. In other words, all of the areas of science tie into everything in the world. The third grade science teacher said that she named different branches of science, like earth science, learning about weather, learning about living things and how the body works. And she said science, the characteristics that explain the mysteries of the world. At the middle school level, I did get, again, a few different answers. One said, the sixth grade science teacher said openness, curiosity, determination, preserving, and sharing. Fifth grade said experiment, data, being open to adjust ideas as new evidence comes up. My seventh and eighth grade science teacher said the characteristics are certainness. You have to be sure and consistent about things. But she also mentioned that sometimes we have to reprove things. We have to be able to collaborate and communicate with peers. And the instructional specialist said that the characteristics of science are observed all around us depending on what you're studying. Some of them may require special tools. Some things are predictable. Whereas high school science teachers added that science has a broad scope. It's concise, but not always. It can change. They mentioned it exacting, probing, and questioning, always searching and experimenting. And the 10th and 12th grade science teacher said anything that gives an explanation of how something in our world works. And it can be verified through observation and experimentation. So for that question, I received a wide variety of answers. For what is not science, again, I categorized these by grade levels. Elementary school teachers said everything is science. Middle school teachers said that it's not finite. It's not being dishonest, it's not Google research, and it's not spoon-fed information. High school said it's not junk science, referring to articles that may be on Wikipedia, to someone's opinions or their beliefs. They both agreed on that, and one also added that it does not include religion. So again, it went from everything is science all the way to looking at science literacy in terms of what we find online and evaluating sources, which I thought was interesting that they mentioned that in the high school. They also mentioned that in middle school, but they lacked that in elementary school. For the nature of science and how is science different from other disciplines, elementary teachers said it's more hands-on. Middle school said it's getting students to think logically and encompasses all other subject areas. They agreed that it's hands-on and something you have to do. High school teachers said it draws on other disciplines and you can't do science without all of the other disciplines. I thought it was interesting because all three agreed that science is doing and not just a constant or something. It is doing and hands-on. As far as what is inquiry, they all mentioned gathering information, figuring things out, questioning, observing, looking for answers. But high school teachers did add that it is based on background knowledge, or it entails using prior knowledge to get to the answers. So I did notice that was the one thing that they did add, the other grade levels did not. The value of science. They all agreed science is very important and it has connections to real life. And then how does your district value science? In the elementary and middle schools in St. Landry Parish, and I noticed that here, let me correct this. They said not very much, but trying to improve. That ELA and math have always been a priority as far as science instruction goes. Um, and in high school, they said that they do see that the district values science, especially in the past 5 to 6 years, and these are both at Acadiana High. They mentioned that the former superintendent was a science teacher, and that may have something to do with it. They also said that the science coordinator is putting in new technology and programs, but they still see emphasis on math and ELA because of the EOCs, and that students can pass either the history or biology EOC, but they have to pass both ELA and math. So I thought that was interesting. And they all agreed that ELA and math had been the priority in the districts based on standardized testing for the past few years. As far as the value of science education, this was where I received many different and interesting answers. So I only picked out a few things here, but I do have a few things I'd like to share from my transcript. The support structures they have, and I grouped this based on school districts, actually. This is school A, or district A, and then this is district B, because remember I did Lafayette Parish, and then I did St. Landry Parish. So the high school teachers in Lafayette Parish only. They have school level PD, they have mandatory district level, curriculum committees, and they said the professional development in science is growing. In St. Landry Parish, they said consistently across the board that it was not very much professional development, but they have been having more within the last 2 years. In fact, they mentioned that there was a lack of a science supervisor or someone from the district level prior to the past 2 years for quite a while. Effective middle school teachers, they all said that they have some support because of their instructional specialists who I did interview. But the 2 elementary teachers, one mentioned that there was a lack of support as far as for the elementary grades, and that there was 1 instructional specialist for science and social studies for the lower grades that works with them. So they have a different structure there in the elementary grades versus the middle school classrooms. As far as finances and resources, in Lafayette Parish, they said they are a Title I school, and they also have primary lists they submit with their needs to their administrator, and if there's additional money, then they are able to submit a secondary list. They receive new laptops, Promethean boards, and microscopes from the district level, in addition to what the school provided through Title I. One teacher said she only charges a $5 lab fee, and that she has sufficient supplies for her classroom throughout the year. Both agree that their school administrator supports funding for science, so this is a big help for them. In St. Landry Parish, they said the district does provide some things. One middle school teacher said she received STEM money from her principal. Another teacher, or the 2 elementary school teachers, said their school administrator provided them with funds, and that's at the elementary school level, that they were able to order materials and supplies. What was interesting is that when I looked at the elementary teachers, as far as supplies, one teacher did share that she received a budget, but she just didn't know what to purchase. So I thought that was interesting. And then as far as time, the elementary teachers said that they have enough time because they take it away from social studies since they teach science and social studies. Otherwise, they would not have enough time, but they have about 50 minutes or 45 minutes for science and then for